This is the brand new iPad 10th generation and the new Apple Magic Keyboard Folio, and together they are an odd combination. I've been playing with these two for the last 5 hours or so these are kind of my initial impressions. So just a general overview of what these two devices are. This is the iPad 10th generation in yellow. Yeah, that's right, we get actual colors with the brand new iPads. These iPads come in yellow, pink, blue, and silver, and start at $449. They come with either 64 or 256 gigabytes of storage, and you can get just Wi-Fi or you can get Wi-Fi and cellular. If you've been paying attention to iPads in the last 4 years, you're going to instantly recognize this. This follows the same design as the 2018 iPad Pros and of course the iPad Air 4 and iPad Air 5 that came out in the last couple of years as well. And this is the new kickstand and keyboard combination made specifically and exclusively for this 10th generation iPad. This keyboard with kickstand runs $250 extra on top of that $449. But we'll talk about that more in just a moment. Now, like I said, I've had these devices for about 5 hours, but in that time I've already figured out some things that I kind of like and things I kind of don't like about these devices. Now, if you want me to start with the things that I like, hit that thumbs up button. If you want me to start with the things that I dislike, hit the subscribe button. I'll give you a minute. Well, the yays have it, so we're gonna start with things I like. First up, I love this design language. I love this. I have loved it since 2018 when Apple started refreshing the iPads Pro and then eventually the iPhones and the iPad Air. I think this is a fantastic design for a piece of glass that you hold in your hands and interact with. I think that adding colors to the 10th generation iPad is exactly what they needed to do. I'm not a super fan. I thought that this yellow color was gonna be much brighter, but it's more of a matte finish or a gold finish or something compared to a bright yellow that I was expecting. Still, it's nice to have a pop of color on a lower end consumer device. So that is really nice, and I actually wish they would bring colors to more of their higher end devices. And again, it's hard to talk about this iPad in a vacuum when there's so many other iPads and we've had 12 years of iPads. So one of the things that I love about this new iPad is that the camera has moved from there to there. This camera in the landscape side is going to be a big, nice change for iPad video calls. If you've ever made a call with iPads while you're using a keyboard case or just holding the iPad up with two hands, it always looks like you're looking away from the camera. It looks very unprofessional. It looks very distracting to the other side because it looks like you're not engaged with the conversation. Moving the camera over here to the front is exactly the right move. That's exactly what should happen to every one of Apple's iPads. This is the same wide-angle camera they put on the last few devices, and it has center stage, so no matter where you are in the frame, the iPad will try and keep you centered, which is a nice feature. And the fact that you're actually looking at the camera now makes it even better. On the bottom, Apple has finally ditched Lightning on the low-end iPad and added USB-C, just like with the iPad Air and the iPad Pro, which opens up a whole new world of accessories you can actually connect to the iPad now and actually get more done with it. And I will definitely talk about that in my upcoming accessories video, so hit subscribe if you do want to see that. USB-C is fantastic for charging and data transfer and other peripherals that you can connect to it, so I'm happy about that for sure. Now, one thing that a number of people will call out as an issue or a complaint with this 10th generation iPad is the screen. This screen is not as good as the iPad Air, or definitely the iPad Pro. It doesn't have the P3 wide color, it doesn't have a laminated display, but this display is good, fine, great. It's actually pretty darn good. Like, there's really nothing to complain about this display when you're actually using it. It's nice and bright, it's nice and colorful. Unless you have this iPad side by side and you're looking at specifically P3 color graded media, then you're not going to notice that this isn't P3 wide color. Like, it is pretty darn good. There's nothing to be disappointed with this. Yes, there is a slight air gap that you can kind of see if you hold the iPad at the right angle, and it doesn't specifically look like you're actually touching the pixels because there's just the tiniest of gap underneath the glass between the glass and the display. But you know what? Just using it, you don't notice it, and it's pretty darn good. So when it comes to this Magic Keyboard Folio, this is two pieces. This piece is the kickstand piece, so it connects magnetically to the back of the iPad and then the kickstand can flip out. It's got a nice microfiber cloth feeling stuff on the back, and this just magnetically attaches to the back of the iPad like previous Apple keyboard cases. You can just pop the kickstand open with your thumb, and then the keyboard attaches magnetically to the bottom of the iPad, and those pogo pins right here. So you can just see they'll just automatically align and connect on, and you are good to go. So now you can just start typing. So one thing I really love about this keyboard is the updated keyboard layout. As you can see, we now have a full set of function row keys up top, which is something we've been begging for the iPad Magic keyboard. And it includes an escape key. You have a lock key, you have media controls, you have brightness, you have volume, you have everything you need, dictation, and do not disturb. I love that layout. The keys feel the exact same as they do on the iPad Magic Keyboard, which is to say they feel good, they have a good amount of travel, and they sound good too. The trackpad on the keyboard Folio is really good as well. It's very similar to the 11-inch Magic Keyboard, and just like that, you can click anywhere on the trackpad, and the gestures are fluid and fast. One thing I want to mention, and I don't necessarily have an opinion on it, the speakers on this iPad, I tried them out. They have enough volume to hear what's going on, but they are not great speakers. But it's really hard to expect great speakers from a tablet at this price point and at this size. And what is nice is that they are a stereo pair. So down here on the bottom of both the right and left side of these perforations, you get stereo speakers. So you get true stereo separation now on this 10th generation iPad. Okay, and now for a couple of things that I found that I dislike after using this combination iPad and keyboard for the last 5 hours or so. And the first thing is not exclusive to this 10th generation iPad, but it is the Touch ID button. I really don't like these Touch ID buttons on these iPads. I find that they're just nowhere near as good as Face ID on the iPads Pro or the iPhone. Now, I don't know if it's because of the shape of the Touch ID button on these iPads, because I never had this issue with older iPhones or older iPads with Touch ID that was down at the bottom on the home button. But with these, they're just never as accurate. I always have to place my finger on there multiple times to get it to register and unlock the device. And even then, I usually end up pushing the darn thing on accident and actually turning the display off when all I want to do is unlock the darn thing and get into the iPad. And I know that this is a me thing. I just find Face ID to be much more accurate, much more consistent, and much simpler to use compared to these thin, Touch ID buttons on the power buttons on the top of an iPad. All right, and of course you've seen all of the coverage of the issues with the Apple Pencil and needing an adapter to use the original Apple Pencil. That's just a bad move in so many ways. There had to have been a better solution than what they came up with. I mean, here's an Apple Pencil Gen 1, and first of all, there's no reason that this thing should still be sold as of today. Like, this is a terrible design. You see this? That cap comes off and you lose it and it's just gone. And now you have a weird looking Apple Pencil that now needs an adapter to be able to connect to this guy to pair and to charge. And it just looks ridiculous. I'm sure you've seen the photos and videos already showing how ridiculous that looks. If you're gonna buy this iPad and you don't already have a Gen 1 Apple Pencil, I wouldn't buy this Gen 1 Apple Pencil. You're still paying $100, plus you have to deal with that weird dongle. You're better off going with this new updated Logitech Crayon, which I think is $79. It doesn't have a stupid adapter. It charges via USB-C, and it just works with any iPad without charging. And I've only been using this guy for a little bit, but I can already see how this guy may actually be a better option than this Gen 1 Apple Pencil. This is a simpler design than, I don't know, this. So next up, I'm not really a big fan of the kickstand design for keyboard cases. I find that they just need way too big of a footprint on a desk to be able to be used. And if you have stuff all over your desk, or maybe you have a small desk or a small workspace, these just don't work that well. And if you think you're gonna use this thing on your lap, good luck. I mean, like I said, you need a large footprint to use, and then it's just a wobbly design. This thing is just not gonna be sturdy on your lap. And I know because I've used other kickstand cases before and they just never work well on your lap. Another issue with the kickstand case is that it probably doesn't go back as far as you expect it to go. A number of other kickstand type devices will go almost flat, so you can use it as a nice, slightly tilted drawing surface. Well, after having this set up for just a few minutes, I tried to do something similar. I tried to just tilt that back a little bit extra, and bam, this thing just popped right off unexpectedly. So this kickstand case doesn't have all the angles that you might expect it to have, and it comes off a little bit easy if you tilt it from the wrong spot. So that's something that you probably just need to be aware of. Now, if you didn't know, you can actually flip this keyboard around and attach it and connect it backwards, so you can cover the keys and keep the keyboard attached so you don't lose it or leave it somewhere accidentally, and have it all sitting right there, which is nice. However, Because this keyboard case is made to flip all the way around, so there's enough room to do that because of the length of this hinge area, when you are connected well, it just popped off. I mean, So if you just have the keyboard closed and you're carrying this thing around, this thing is very slippery. It just slides all over the front glass of the iPad. And I have to imagine that that's gonna cause some scratches over time. If you get a little bit of dust or something in this keyboard, this thing is gonna slide around and scratch the crap out of your screen. I'm not a fan of this. I also think that if you toss this in a bag, this thing is very easily gonna come disconnected in your bag. Whether that's an issue or not, I don't really know. But after using this for just a few hours, I definitely noticed that it's not a very secure, closed iPad keyboard case. So something, again, to be aware of. Next up, this keyboard is not backlit like the iPad Magic Keyboard, which isn't a big deal if you're working at a desk or a coffee shop. And since it's not really a lappable device, you're probably not gonna be using it in bed or in dark situations. However, for $250, you would expect that it probably would have a backlit keyboard. Logitech's going to be selling their Combo Touch for $90 less than this Magic Keyboard Folio, and it has backlit keys. So stay tuned to the channel for that because I will be doing a comparison with the Combo Touch versus the Magic Keyboard Folio. All right, the last thing I don't like about this 10th generation iPad and keyboard is that they're just not compatible with anything else. This iPad is not compatible with the iPad Magic Keyboard or the Folio cases for the similarly sized 11-inch iPad Pro and 10.9-inch iPad Air. So this is a device that has to have its completely own separate ecosystem. It makes no sense why Apple would choose to move the dock connector down here on this iPad versus make it match the iPad Air and the iPad Pro so that accessories can be interchangeable. I really dislike that. I really dislike that you have to go buy a $250 keyboard case that's frankly not really great except for the key layout just to use with this one single device. So if you upgrade your iPad in the future, you can't use this case. If you want a better case in the future, you can't use this iPad. It makes no good sense. So like I said, these two are an odd combination, and I'm not sure exactly who they're for. I don't think they are for somebody who wants to use an Apple Pencil, and I think that because of the price of these two together, I don't think they're for somebody who wants to use a keyboard with it. I think this is for the general couch, iPad, web surf, game playing user who just needs it every now and then as a bigger device than their phone. But hey, this is just my first impressions after the first few hours with this brand new iPad. I'm interested in hearing what you guys have to say about this. Does this iPad make sense to you, or are you gonna skip it or upgrade or downgrade? Let me know below. Also, I really wanna thank you for watching this video, and I really think that you're gonna love this other video right over here. Hit the thumbs up button if you liked it, hit subscribe if you want, and I'll see you next time.